Okay, these two questions actually go together. James Allen Fulcher and also Mr. William Holmes from Texas have similar concerns. The way James put it is on a gray kilt, if you get more yardage, say go from 5 yards to 6 yards, does that allow you to have enough material to do the hooded cloak effect, like more? And William, meanwhile, expresses the same issue, basically. What are my options for a great kilt that is wider than double wide? Do I have to order more fabric and sew it together? I'm 6'4", which means I don't have a lot of fabric to play with, so I can't quite get the at the ankles tail effect, the way guys wear it. At the same time, I don't have a lot of fabric to go over my head.
Right.
So it's the same problem for both these gents. Can you make it?
Sure. The length, when you're looking at a great kilt, it's just basically a long piece of cloth. So depending on the mill, there are different widths to that cloth. The first gent was asking a question about, can I get a 6-yard kilt instead of 5 and have that help with the over the head kind of thing? No, it's the wrong direction. It's the wrong direction, exactly. For someone who is taller or wants the kilt to be, the piece of cloth to be wider, most mills have between 54 to 60 inches wide. If you are taller, you need the 60 inches, maybe and then some, depending on how tall you are, Kirk Kinnaman, to be able to pull the fabric up over the head and not have a mini kilt on at the same time. So Loch Heron's fabric, going through the mills a little bit, Loch Heron's fabric is typically 54 inches wide. They do some single width, mostly, double width, 54 inches wide. House of Edgar is mostly single width at 32 inches wide. Martin Mills is 58 to 60 inches wide. Strathmore, I think Mac is 58 or 60?
Just somewhere in there.
So Strathmore or Martin Mills are typically the two that are going to be wider double width. If you need extra width, so to speak, the only thing you could do is get single width fabric from, let's say, House of Edgar that's 32 inches wide, and then splice it. So you have, 2 5-yard sections, order 10 yards single width, cut it at the 5-yard mark, turn it over, and splice it right in the middle. The problem that you will have is that the pattern may not reverse at the middle. You may be compromising the integrity of the pattern. So let's, using the tartan that I have here, holding up my over apron. If the at the 32-inch mark, you end up right here. This is the height of the 32, is the top of the gray. When I'm going to sew that to itself, reverse it and flip it up and sew it, you're going to have, gray section here with gray section here and then 2 yellow stripes. Now, if the top of the cloth is like right there along the white stripe, great. I can flip that and make it be a mirror image up top. But that will not always be the case. So how persnickety you are with the pattern itself reversing dead in the middle is going to kind of dictate if you're able to do that. If you're already in the headspace of, I really need it to be a little bit wider, you're probably going to be okay with sacrificing that and being able to, splice the fabric at the, let's say, 31 out of 32 inch mark and do that. And then kind of the pattern in the middle is going to be what it's going to be. It'll be okay. And then, that's the best way you're going to be able to get to gain an extra 2 or 3 inches out of the double width, sewn together double width piece of cloth. Mac, as a kilt maker extraordinaire, do you have any thoughts on that?
I right when you said about the single width, that's right where I was thinking, because that you may get that full almost 32, but you could end up with 28 on the other side. So it just I think you're explaining that, and with that difference is
that's key. Yeah. And the other thing that you're going to, whether it's us or somebody else, the other thing you're going to run into is you now have extra labor because you have to sew, those 2 pieces together. So either you could do it yourself if you order, 10 yards single width, cut it, splice it, you're now sewing a 5-yard, place down the middle, or a 5-yard strip down the middle, or you're paying a company to do that for you. So that's going to be extra money in making your kilt.
Hadn't you mentioned at one time that different mills have different widths?
Yeah,
Like
he was talking about the beginning there.
So you could.
Yeah,
so
okay.
So you did cover that.
Almost knowing, you'd almost have almost had to send an email in saying, "Hey, I want to wear it long." Like, which one would be the longer?
Yeah.
Martin Mills and Strathmore seem to be the longest in that scenario.
Okay.
Although I think some 11 ounce is a little bit longer too, but not. But not all 11 ounce is tuck salvage edge though.
Correct. Yeah, like Loch Heron's 11 ounce or 10 ounce, 11 ounce, they're reaver quality. Usually has a lino selvage or a fringed selvage edge on either edge. Mm-hmm. So it's not gonna be the same finished bottom to your great kilt or top. But it may be a little bit wider. Strathmore, in their 11 ounce, I think Strathmore still does the tuck and selvage, so they're still good at 60 inches wide. So yeah, there's a lot of like minutia, little tiny moving parts to it that, an email would help clear it up.
Be a better scenario for them to not necessarily have the great kilt then come to the middle of the knee, but come more above the knee.
Yeah. Thank you.
In this scenario.
In other words, how it was historically worn.
Yeah.
Because I think that thank you. I wanted to bring that up. I think that there is some discrepancy between how we are wearing them now and accommodating for our modern preferences versus how they wore them. If you look at like Black Watch reenactors, 18th century, you see a perfect example of this. They're wearing great kilts, but is well above the knee. So I don't know what the average height of a guy was back then. I'm assuming it was probably a little bit shorter than now, perhaps. But and I don't know what the average width of a period loom was. It was it was typically like 28 or 30 inches wide. Okay. About this, it was single width, and then they would actually splice. So there's historical precedent. So there is precedent historically for splicing the wool together to make it wider, so you could do this kind of thing. Yep. Okay. But I think that. Yeah, it might be that there's some people out there who could do it effectively, but they're not. But they're still trying to have it coming down to the middle of the knee because that's what we like better nowadays. Whereas in period, you were wearing it higher, and that naturally would give you a little more slack. Yeah, for going up over your head. Yeah, that's a fair point. Interesting. So yes, it can be done. It's not necessarily going to be easy, but it can be done depending on which dominoes have to fall in what order. So hope that helps. So here's the question I want you to answer. Would you ever wear a great kilt? We've seen as a company a huge influx of people wearing great kilts in the last couple years. So I'm curious, who's actually buying these? Would you wear it? And if you would wear it, where would you wear it to? If you're looking to buy a great kilt, head over to our retail website, usakilts.com, where you can find great kilts and a whole lot more.